Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending our talk tonight at Aziz Gallery. Tonight we're going to focus on one print out of Aziz's extensive collection of glass paintings and intaglio prints. The title of this one, Belgian Chocolate. This is the inaugural talk for a 30-year retrospective of Aziz's work here in the United States. So welcome and thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So I want to start out slowly and really give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about this work, and then we'll do a little background on the Free State of Congo and the inspiration behind this work. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Basically, the idea of this work is the residue of European atrocity and Africa. Maybe people are not familiar with Congo or King Leopold, of the millions of people killed because of this robber. If you didn't meet your quarter of robber, they will take your nephew or your uncle, cut their feet or their legs. Actually, that wasn't the order. The order was to kill them and cut the legs to show you already get them. The soldier was not, did say they didn't have enough bullet to kill them. Let me just cut your legs and you leave.
Wow. So, you know me as Dr. Styles, and you know that I'm an educator, but one thing you don't know is my family originates from the Congo and the Sierra Leone area. And the Free Congo State, or the Congo Free State, was also known as the independent state of the Congo. It was a large state, an absolute monarchy in Central Africa from 1885 to 1901. I think it's interesting that it was privately owned by a personal union with Leopold II of Belgium. We don't talk a lot about Belgium in this country, but you know that Belgium has a horrific history in the slave trade. Can you talk a little bit about that?
And actually, most of the time, people will account this history, but they wouldn't know.
They don't.
Because they will see sometime in Christmas a hand made with the chocolate, but they never know what that means.
Wow.
But usually it's with rabbit, you know, eggs, chocolate, or something like that. Then that's why I call it Belgian chocolate. Then that was Belgium did not colonize Congo like that. They did colonize Congo, and they just give King Leopold to run by itself. Then you can't blame it.
Wow. So it's almost like his personal possession.
Yeah,
this
that
whole
was his
country full of people.
Yeah, but and behind doors, you know, like that was the Congo. Because after King Leopold passed, the Belgian went there into the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the great things about having you here as a kind of a precious treasure for us in the United States is your wealth of knowledge of the atrocities that went on the continent under slavery, and even up until the present day. You know, you're like a walking history book of what our people have endured across the diaspora. You know, Leopold was able to seize the region by convincing other European states at the Berlin Conference that Africa, that he was involved in a humanitarian and philanthropic work and would not tax trade. That's like an original grift, isn't it?
Yeah. That the only thing was, you know, the interest of the European wouldn't tax trades is not anything for Africans. If you tax the trade or you don't tax them, the African wouldn't have no benefit from it. But is at the mercy, you know, the African will be killed, you know, by, and actually the person who's being killed or chopped have nothing to do with getting the raw. you are the one who's getting the robber. You didn't get your quarter, they will take some of your family and just chop their hands.
Wait a minute.
Then basically
So-
that was the trick. Then you can slave somebody without, like by telling them, hey, your nephew, we're gonna, that's his family, let's choose which one has to go.
This brutality, I just want to be clear. So the Belgium power structure made it such that the Africans, if they didn't deliver enough rubber, which was their primary trade, they didn't persecute the worker, they would persecute family members. Is that what you're saying?
That's it, yeah. That's exactly. And actually, I think this word would be kind of ironic to even use it to say mercy, because the soldier actually was giving them a favor to cut their hands or legs or foot, because that wasn't the order they gave him. The order was to kill them and cut the legs, cut the foot. You kill them first, take the first to show how many did you kill. But they didn't have enough bullets to kill everyone. The easiest thing was to tell the person, either I kill you or I cut your foot. That was their choice. That was their choice.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if you think about the slave trade in this country and some of the things, the horrific things that went on, you can see the origins of that brutality from the European mindset. Here, I want to just talk a little bit about how you use color to tell the story here. This arm here is the red indicates the absence of the hand.
Yeah,
Is that it?
Yeah, that's exactly.
And then, so you're saying they would pile up hands and opposing limb, like the left leg and the right hand.
Yeah.
Is that was the unique brand of torture that they came up with?
That's right.
And they felt merciful because they weren't killing, they were just maiming.
Yeah, but they wasn't killing because they didn't have enough bullets.
Unbelievable. And Aziz, people that know your work, like I do, the use of color here, even though this is a story of despair, and for me, it affects me on a very primal level to hear about this atrocity that went on. For how many years did this go on?
I think longer than history say. I think they said maybe 30 years, something like that. It's longer than that.
So a generation
didn't really end. That just changed. It's the same as here. Slavery did not change. It's like just have another clothes, a different form. Like people used to be hanged in Mississippi. They are being hanged now legally in the freeway.
That's right.
And the person have a license to kill you.
Right.
And they do.
We talk about the police now.
Yeah.
Just to be
but
clear.
I'm just saying like that. It's the same. It's just the European, if they, I don't know, civilized and European should not be put in the same sentence.
Wow. Wow.
Then because atrocity is not just to African, they did that the same to the Indian, Chinese, everywhere they did go.
Well, we want to weave a little bit of this together because the truth is, Leopold's sister ended up being the Empress Carlotta of Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And I know that the painter, the woman who was so famous painting in Mexico, Frida Kahlo, she did a lot of work around Carlotta, didn't she? So he's also first cousins with Queen Victoria from the United Kingdom. Now, those are the original gangsters because her husband, Prince Albert, wasn't he the son of the German king that was killed and the Russian Tsar family that was murdered as well?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the same bloodline.
Same bloodline.
Same bloodline.
But the present day royal family is tied and tethered to these people.
I believe so, but I don't think anybody has the right to say that.
Right.
To even say they have a German descendants.
Okay.
But
Because of the World War II, nobody wants to talk about the German
yes,
ancestry.
that's right. Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow. So I want to go into, how that period affected the people of the Congo. Because I don't want to spend so much time talking about the atrocity that we miss the cultural impact of living under that kind of tyranny. Can you talk a little bit about that?
But Congo is maybe the richest country in the planet and is the poorest today. Then even after that, they killed Lumumba. Was like well-known, somebody who loved Africa, doing everything Africa. They killed. That's, I don't have to go through that. Anybody can go and look. Now all the secrecy is already out. We know the factor of the people who killed them. But anyone actually, the truth is in Africa, Africa will be always 2 years in the back, all the time. Because the European countries and it's not just the European country, they can't see Africa going, coming to the same level.
Prospering.
Then anyone who say, anyone, I don't want to go through any name, but anyone who say, like you say Gaddafi, he say, United Africa, putting the African trading on gold, because they have enough gold to trade, to have our own currency. He is dead. Anyone who mention that is dead. It's just simple as that.
I have to be honest, I did think of you. This week there was an economic forum held at the White House because of you and I have talked in the past about the interest that China and Russia has in Africa. And now the United States is trying to develop an initiative. But I want to go back to Congo, present day Congo, and some of the cultural remnants of this history. How many young people, because I know here, some of our kids don't know the immediate history that we've suffered in this country. How many of the young people in Congo know about this?
I believe Congo, this is still, I'm sure everybody have their grandfather or mother. It's not really just Belgium. Every European or white country in the planet benefited.
Wow.
Including Ford, because that was Robert. You either killed the Amazon forest, go kill the Indian, or you kill the African. Those are the only two spots you can find.
Wow.
And they was executed, all of them the same. And that's the same pattern. I couldn't cut the deluxe pattern or the Michelin. They specifically, because each one of them have their own pattern. And actually, I was going to take the tire itself and put it there to get the imprint, but that was too thick, and I cut myself twice. And I just say, let me draw instead of putting the tire on it. And even that come to be black, that was green to start with, and yellow, and go to black. That's how the rubber tree works.
But I do think that this portraiture is someone of dignity, standing erect, despite the humiliation or the pain and suffering that this person went through. This represents, I think, the inherent dignity of the Congolese people.
Yeah, and strength.
Did you intend to portray that as well?
Yeah, no, actually they're not really a victim. I think the people who put the atrocity are still the victim.
Tell me more about
then
that.
you can take everything from somebody, but the dignity is not something you can take out, because it's nowhere to be. It's not something you can cut off. It's not something you can do none of that. Is on you, and is not something you can. Is not palpable. It's not something. It's not tangible. Not something you can just grab and take.
So when you're working with children in the community and young people, it seems very natural to you to just educate as you teach about art. I mean, you have such a wealth of stories that are translated into your painting and into your, I want to say it correctly, your intaglio printings.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like, tell me about the process of the intaglio and your intention when you're creating and working with young people.
And intaglio printing is boring.
Really?
That's why most of the time artists did not, and it's expensive.
Well,
It's
I'm
boring.
gonna reframe. You say boring, I'm gonna say tedious.
Yeah, no, it's all that, but because that's the part that is boring to them, because that there is nothing is free. You have to put every single thing you put there, you have to put it there. Doesn't just you can't free. If you paint on canvas, you can get the white part, or you can get the texture. It's already there. There is nothing like that in this. You have to create everything. First of all, you have to create everything backwards.
Wow.
That's first of all. And you get only 90% of what you put there.
Wow.
You know, at least for the first thing. And you have to know exactly what you want, you know, to create. It's not painting, it's sculpting. So the intaglio, N is like inside, ta is the top, intaglio is like, is a negative and positive part of the basically you emboss and print at the same time.
And emboss and print at the same time.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that there's a lot of artists that's working in this medium.
Actually, there was a great one who just passed 2 days ago.
Really?
Black artist called Nathaniel Boston,
Oh.
like in Pasadena. He's like, you know, maybe one of the few one I can, you know, say he was a little bit different than the rest. The other printers, not, you know, what they do, you can do it in 2 days. Or you can, you can teach it to anyone in a day.
Wow.
But he, you know, like he developed his own way of doing it. And basically, when I do this artwork, it's not, most of the material I use, you know, there is something you can go to the 99 cents. Everybody who knows me knows I like 99 cents store.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's good.
Then basically is what is around me, that's what I use. I don't look for something I don't have.
And I would call that the Aziz method.
Yeah.
Is that there's no waste.
Yeah,
And everything that your lived experience is
Yeah.
translated in your work. I mean, as we spend our time together over these next few, probably we'll go a year talking about your 30-year retrospective. But in this one, I want to talk about the emotion here because one of our friends said that there was a little bit despair. And I said, I don't see despair. I see something different. What do you see?
Yeah, I think it's dignity and anger.
You see dignity and anger.
Yeah, then you know, resilient. You know, then the person you know, like you can beat somebody, do all of those, but you can't change their, you know, their belief, and then you know, then that. Then.
Well, I guess I want to ask a question. Is there a day of remembrance? For
Yeah,
this?
every
Senegal?
I am Senegal, the monument or more, the monument of the dead.
Monument of the Dead.
Yeah, then they have that. Every country have something like that, and besides that, they have it not like the way traditionally they have things to do like just the same as Mexico, like the tradition, the Day of the Muerte.
The Day of the Dead.
Yeah, the Day of the Dead.
Dia de
Then
las
that's the
Muertes.
day you will just come to the cemetery. That's the only day you're not afraid to be in the cemetery. Just to go party, talk about those people, you know, put them alive again, and you know, something like that. If you didn't do anything good, nobody will remember you. Then you know, that kind of stuff. Then they have.
Well, how old were you when you learned of this atrocity? Were you a student or as an adult?
I did heard about it, but I didn't have maybe. You know, I am when you are in Africa, Africa is too big. When you're out of Africa, Africa is too small. You can see all the country, something like that. I see more African coming from other places than in here than I have when I in Senegal. I am unfortunate. People will say they kind of be disappointed. I am more African when I come to the United States. Before, I am the majority.
Yes.
I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I never have to worry about the police beating me or anything like that. I may be beating the police, not them beating me.
Well,
or,
it is different.
Or something like that.
It is
but
different.
A couple of years ago, I took a couple of comedians from the U.S., popular, and actors to Senegal. And when they come to the bank, to go get their money, that time you have to have American Express checks to travel with. When you go, you exchange it. And they come to say, can you believe it? The director is black. And they say, everybody is black in the bank. I say, what do you expect? You are in Africa, in Los Angeles. But I didn't know that part for me, because I am always the majority.
Yes.
I never been the minority into like here.
Yes.
Then like I was less African maybe when I was in Africa. Then when I came here, I was more conscious about being more African than
Well, even though you are more African, you're also more a part of the community. And what I love about you is your deep ties to the community, and how, as a matter of course, you just educate as you move through the community. And we're living in a time where people are pushing back. They don't want contemporary history of the civil rights movement taught in schools. So I think it's incumbent on us to teach our own children, right, about our history. And that's what I really love and want to see more of your legacy embedded in the culture, because we have an interlocking oppression throughout the world, and a lot of times people are so focused on what's happening here, they don't realize that we have shared experiences. It is different when you live in a country. I've been to places where it's all black people. It's a nice feeling, because it takes so much energy to deal with just your blackness in this country. And it's a good thing. It's not a liability, but you still have to always be conscious. So I want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions. I've been doing a lot of talking because I never get tired of listening to you. But are there any questions about this piece in particular, the Congo history, or Aziz? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm just fascinated with the history behind it. But I wanted to ask, can you explain more about the piece that he's holding, the tablet that he's holding, and how you went about? Because I know you said that it was difficult to do it, and I didn't really catch it, and I hope you mind.
Well, I want to repeat the question for all of the audience to hear. This sister's asking, can he explain the significance of the tablet, of what the person is holding here, and what is the meaning and the significance of this, right?
Yes.
Can you explain that, please?
Then basically that part of the clothes is basically the decorative part of the clothes. The top is basically mark of tile. Tile, like the rubber, when the tile is on the sand, like the mark they do. Each company have a different. Michelin have a different type. Dulux have different type.
Yeah.
Every Continental have different type. And that was just that I put there.
So the insignia is to signify the
the tie,
business.
basically, and the bottom line of their hand being chopped or foot is just the robber. Have nothing to do with anything they black or they anything. They didn't bring enough. They didn't make their quarter of rubber they were supposed to bring, and somebody's hand have
Look
to
at
go.
that. Wow.
And that was the significance was if you do the painting without the rubber, the thing, that was the reason why
That's the rubber that is-
that's the purpose.
Yeah.
Then basically is this part of the clothes, then is the rubber of and is the imprint of the
So it's the symbolism of
Yeah.
the brutality of the industrial people that were
and that's
in.
the main things of the reason why their hand was cut is not they was black or they was ended. Is like they didn't make their quarter of rubber, and the soldier is actually I don't want to use that word, but the soldier was merciful to not, because they didn't tell them to cut their legs. They tell them to kill them and cut the hands to bring
It's proof.
to prove you killed them. Then they come and they cut the hands and let them go. And the reason they was doing it too is not that. If they use all the bullets they have and just have a gun, they will be killed. You know, the African didn't have just a machete, but you can't be just walking, or you know, you don't have a bullet, you don't have no guns, you're not going to be there. They will kill you too because you've been killing their people all along.
So Belgium, a relatively small country, I would call it one of the more minor European countries, had to use terror and fear to control the population.
Yeah, and is all European was a part of it. It's just Belgium. They was all benefited. Belgium was not industrially up there to they didn't build the tire, they didn't build the car, they don't even have an existing car today. That was Germany, France, and the US who was the primary beneficiary, who benefited on that road. Then they all had the same group of things.
Well, there's that's not a news flash for those of us who come from, African descent. We know about the appropriation of our resources, whether it's our human resources or our mineral resources in the continent. But I really want to invite our audience to join us again. I'd like to have another dialogue with you, particularly about the red hats, which is fascinating. I'm just teasing it out. We're going to have another talk with Aziz. January 6th is scheduled for the next one. So we really welcome you all. Please bring a friend, and let's really educate ourselves about the history of our people across the globe. And Aziz is a primary artist for us in that way. I want to thank you for your time and your generous spirit. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm Dr. Styles signing off.
Thank you.